right, everybody, it's time for your episode of Vet Project today, where we're going to kind of debrief a little bit about your dog's diet. Dr. Meredith Stanland from Nacogdoches Animal Hospital joins us here this afternoon to kind of break that down for us. So let's talk about the combination of proteins, fats, carbs, and vitamins that are essential for a healthy diet in humans as well as your pets. So Dr. Stanland, can you break down some of those key factors that we need to pay attention to kind of start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to preface that, with dogs and with cats, there's going to be some pretty big differences between the two. So I just say, a cat should not eat a dog food, a dog should not eat a cat food because they actually have some really big differences. And, based on pet's certain situation, if your pet is breeding, lactating, a working dog, a show cat, some of these recommendations might be a little bit different. But to your point, overall, if they need quality minerals, vitamins, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and good quality water too. We forget about that sometimes as all part of like a healthy diet for them.
Well, what is the, top few essentials, Dr. Stanland, about those nutrients that are in a dog's diet specifically that we should know about?
Yeah, so you mentioned proteins first. So proteins is definitely gonna be something that's gonna help basic functions. They help amino acids, which builds, everything in your system, just like with people. In dogs, you're gonna be looking at, wanting it to be around 18 to 20%. If they're lactating, if they're a growing puppy, a little bit higher, kind of in that 23%. If you go too high for too long, it can definitely cause some issues as far as organ dysfunction and also weight gain, right? Like if you eat a ton of protein and bulking up, but you're not using that, it'll just put more extra pounds on you. I tell a lot of my clients, kind of as a whole, is think about how many pounds your dog weighs. So let's say your dog's 20 pounds. It's about, a little bit over a kilogram per pound per day. So it'd be, for a 22-pound dog, you're looking at about 26, 25 grams of protein a day. And then on the flip side, for your cats, they're true carnivores. They're going to be a bit higher. So in like the 20, 28 range is going to be much higher from a protein perspective.
Okay, well, let's talk about the importance of, fats. We all know that they are supposed to be in our pets' diets. Let's talk about how much a dog or a cat should totally or roughly consume in a meal or specifically in a day as a whole.
Yeah. When it comes to fats, I think it's something that if we do too much or too little, it can definitely cause issues in dogs and in cats. So for a dog's a general diet, about 5 to 6% is pretty normal. For From as far as fats go, similar with cats. The thing I'll preface is that you may have heard like of things called pancreatitis, hyperlipidemia, all of those things that dogs love to get if they eat too high in fat diets. If a dog has chronic pancreatitis or has episodes of tummy upset like that, their daily fat requirement is going to be much less. So, if your dog's on a prescription food or just needs a lower fat diet, that fat really needs to be closer to like 2.5, 3% at most.
Well, what about carbs or, fatty oils, those sorts of things? Because there's all sorts of minerals and oils that you can put in your dog or your pet's in general diet. Is there anything specific that you think that we should be including?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's always good to think about complex carbs as much as possible. So those true starches you need to be a little bit cautious with. If you look at foods that are going to be like the lower calorie, they're going to have more complex carbs. So those are going to be starches that are like you have to be broken down a little bit more than just like think about eating French fries versus sweet potatoes. Are equivalent. So your sweet potato is going to be more of a complex carb. So it's going to be harder to break down. It's going to be better insulin control. It's going to do better from a weight perspective. So think about if you're looking at the starches that we eat that are more complex, you'll see that on the dog and the cat food too. So instead of a corn, you'll see sweet potato, and some of those lower fats, or even like the diabetic diets, they're going to have more complex carbs, which take longer to break down and then have better results for the body overall, just like this.
Oh, yeah. Well, the vitamin deficiencies, every pet and every human, I mean, I think everybody has got something that they
Life
really need to
hacks.
take. Right, exactly. What do you usually see in pets, and how can owners be proactive about this?
Yeah, so we've done a really, really great job as a society. I just have to say, we used to see a lot more deficiencies in animals overall. We used to see a lot of what we call taurine deficiencies, which was causing heart issues, especially in our cats, which we've pretty much eliminated. Some of the big things that I will see is going to be that, like the calcium levels. So in those big dogs that are growing really, really quickly, or those puppies, they can come in and their bone density just isn't that great, and they'll actually have deformities, with their legs, because their calcium levels weren't too great when they were young puppies. So making sure that each of your pet is eating the appropriate lifestyle. So if they're a puppy, they should be eating a puppy food. If they're a large breed puppy, do a large breed puppy food. If they're an adult dog, do an adult food. If they're a pregnant female, you should actually put these guys on a puppy food, because it's going to be higher in those minerals that they need to grow those puppies. So that's kind of just some tidbits as a whole.
Well, if these dogs are not having a balanced diet or taking these vitamins and they don't have that healthy diet over an extended period, what exactly happens there?
Yeah. So, I mean, you have a long list of issues. I've mentioned, bony deficiencies, heart disease. If they're eating too high protein diets for too long, you can start seeing some kidney or liver issues. You can get B12 deficiencies, which is cobalamin, which, dogs and cats will get what we call, inflammatory bowel syndrome, where they're dumping their B12 levels. And so they just overall just feel like crud, and they're not doing very well. So really making sure that they do have a balanced diet. AFCO is the American Associated Feed Control Officer. So anything that you feed, as far as dog or cat food, it should have like an AFCO label on it, meaning that it's been balanced and it's been studied to make sure that it's everything that your pet needs.
All right. Well, is there a great benefit to seeking freeze dried food over kibble? What's kind of the huge difference there?
Yeah, so freeze dried is going to be, they're going to be soak out all the moisture in it, right? And so it's great if you're maybe traveling or you want a treat that's easy, because it's going to be light, lighter weight and easy to move. But you have to remember you're going to need to supplement the moisture in it. It does typically have a little bit of a higher protein, and it does have more complex carbs. But again, you're just going to need to make sure that they're getting hydrated, because you're removing that water from it. In the dog food and cat food processing, they use heat to increase moisture content in it. So a lot of your pet's foods has some moisture in it. And when it's freeze dried, it's just removed. So that's the biggest thing that you want to remember.
Okay. Well, what are your thoughts on pet owners making their own diets for their dog from scratch?
Yeah. I think it's something that I see a lot of, and I think it's becoming more popular. I think a lot of people want to home cook for their dogs and their cats, which is great. I just say, remember, cats are carnivores by nature, so they cannot be a vegan or a vegetarian. I'm sorry. And I think if you're going to do a home cooked diet, just make sure it's completely balanced. Add some kibble to it. There's some great online resources. Balanceit.com is one that I recommend all the time. If someone says they're looking to want to do a home cooked diet, they have recipes that are completely AFCO approved. And that way you're able to do something that your pet's going to get everything that they need. That's the only caveat that I say.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to emphasize or add here? Just talking a little bit more about your vet project today of breaking down your dog's diet.
Yeah. So I think overall, if you're going to feed a food, most of the foods that you get, on your grocery store shelf, at your dog food store, they're going to be quality dog food, right? So just if you're going to stick to something that is from the store. Don't pick up something that doesn't have a label on it. Don't pick something that's maybe a little boutiquey that doesn't actually say what's in it. Like, you really want to make sure you know what's in your dog's food when you're feeding it. So if you're not going to do a home cooked diet, make sure you're looking at the label. Also, make sure that you're feeding the correct life stage for what they are. Dogs should not eat cat food. Cats should not eat dog food. Puppies should eat puppy food. And even even your senior dog should eat a senior dog food. It's going to have more essential amino acids for joint health. It's going to have everything that they need for their life quality. These companies have done such a really great job to design exactly what your pet needs. And so they've just done a really good job. A lot of science is all into the dog foods that are made every day. So I know a lot of people love to do toppers too. That's also something that's really popular right now. And I think it's nice to do a topper. Just make sure that you're not adding too much calories to your dog's food. And you have to remember that if your dog or your cat eats a small treat, or let's say you give your dog a slice of cheese, that those calories can be equivalent to like a cheeseburger, right? So just if you had a cheeseburger every time you wanted a snack, just think about how you might need a full meal later in the day. So keep that in mind when you're feeding your dog or cat too.
All right. Well, Dr. Staniland, thank you so much for joining us here on today's episode of Vet Project on East Texas Now. We'll talk to you in the long run. I'm sure we'll see you again. But that is all that we
Thank you
have
for having
here
me.
too, as well, for questions. But thank you again for joining us.
Absolutely. It was wonderful. I'm glad we talked about it. It's something everybody's going to feed their dog or cat. So it's a great conversation. So have a good day.
All right. You too.